Hey guys, welcome back to Nora's Table. This is Savannah Burns, and I just want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon fan, Jamie Woodworth, and thank you for your support for the show, and I hope we can continue to bring good content to you. I'm sitting down today with Kat, Snappy, and Richard, who is our producer and also the sponsor of the show, and there's something very unique about you guys. What is that, Richard?
We're in a throuple.
Okay, so I just want to preface this by saying that you guys are the first triad throuple that I have any experience with. So if I come across as like ignorant to the subject or something, I definitely do not mean it offensively. Like I have questions that I'm not really sure how to articulate, and hopefully that'll come across as a way as like I'm curious about it and I'm interested and not trying to be offensive or demeaning or anything like that. So I just want to get started with how you guys met. First, how did you know that you wanted to be with multiple women?
I mean, probably puberty.
Okay.
So that actually isn't quite true. So when I was in my teens, I would have crushes with a lot of women, but at that point in time, I still thought that I was going to meet the one person that I would ever want to be with in my entire life, ever. Like, you know, Hollywood, what Hollywood teaches us we're supposed to be. And when now my dad always had multiple girlfriends.
Okay.
And they all knew about each other, and I don't know, as a kid, I don't know what their arrangements were or whatever, but they would be in the same room and whatever. And some of them didn't like each other and some of them didn't care. But so back then in the 80s, that wasn't called poly or anything like that. And it wasn't swingers, and swingers are like people who have like couples who go out and have sex at parties or whatever, right? So it's something else, but there wasn't like a word for it yet. So when I went into my 20s, I had been in, 2 or 3 relationships at that point, and I always beat myself up for falling in love with other women and still loving the woman I was with, but then like hating myself because I'm a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never cheated on anybody. Like I'm super strict on what ethical lines I'm willing to cross, but I would just hate myself for being me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I was maybe 24 when my wife at the time said, "Hey, I need to ask you something." And I said, "Okay, what is it?" And she was like, "Well, can this other girl move in with us?" And I had such a huge crush on this girl who was like her best friend. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, because at that time we had other roommates, so she would have been in our bedroom, and it turned into my first throuple.
Okay.
And you made a comment of like, when do I want to be with multiple women? But at least in my throuples, it's always women who are with multiple people.
Okay.
Right. Not me with multiple women, but then the girls are just like waiting on the side, waiting for me to be done with the other girl or something like that. Like, no, like the 3 of us are together. So it's not me with 2 women. It's one woman with a guy and a woman, or me with 2 women. It's all of us with each other.
Mm-hmm. I imagine that came probably with a learning curve, with that being your first experience. What kind of struggles did you have in the beginning before you kind of got into a flow?
The biggest struggle always I think with throuples is scheduling.
We were talking about that earlier.
Live and die by the Google Calendar.
Yeah. It's hard for monogamous couples, schedule-wise, between work and kids and stuff like that. So I can't imagine adding another person to that.
I mean, our other person is just like, For us, instead of having kids, we have puppy and then other persons. So
Yeah.
it's just
And trying to figure out where our schedules overlap because I work on call and Kat works swing shift and Rich is at home. And
Hey, I work day shift.
you,
Day shift.
you worked all
home.
shift.
That's okay. That's
You
true.
Yeah.
work all shift.
That's true.
And so with my industry, I never know when I'm going to be off work or like what days I have off. So scheduling things in advance is tedious and may or may not happen. But we live and die by the Google Calendar.
How long did it take with your first throuple? How long did it take for you guys to figure out that that's what you needed to do schedule wise?
So, with my first throuple, the biggest challenge as far as scheduling was when did each person have one-on-one time with the other person. So we're in our 20s and we're partying a lot more. But in order to have a meaningful relationship with someone, you really need to have just quality one-on-one time. Whether it's a throuple or monogamous, whatever, you need to have that one-on-one time. So the biggest challenge then wasn't everybody working like it is now. The biggest challenge then was, hey, what does the other person do while the other two people are having their like quality time? And I think that things were really challenging for maybe the first month, and then we didn't even talk about it, and that's horrible because I think everything is better if you talk about it. Back then, we just literally just naturally figured out that one person would say, "Hey, I'm going to go out with my friends on Monday," and then the other two people who were at home would end up having like a date night. But it wasn't planned. It wasn't intentional. There was no goal of improving relationship stability, which is probably why that relationship didn't last very long, because there was great times and there was like very stressful times, like probably like most relationships in people's 20s, that you don't talk about things, so you don't resolve anything.
Yeah, you haven't learned like the life skills, I guess, in order to build up the communication skill. I think that comes just naturally with age and experiences. At any point, did you start to have more intense feelings for the second woman more than your wife? Did you always love them equally? How did that work?
That's a great question, because in that scenario, my wife, she quit work because work was too stressful, and then I thought, hey, that's fine, because at that point I thought, well, the guy's supposed to make all the money and pay all the bills. And so I was like, okay. And she didn't take care of the house because I'm the one who cooks. And a lot of times I'm the one who does laundry. So, and we had maids. So she basically wasn't doing anything. And originally she was supposed to start working on her art, because she was like, I haven't worked on my art because my job's too stressful. Then she wasn't working, and she still wasn't working on her art. And the other girl started making me like lunch to go and things. And I was like, so suddenly, instead of having to eat out during the day, I'd have food. And she started folding my laundry and things that normally I did for myself. And that really destabilized the scenario, because here was this girl working as a teacher and making, she'd make herself lunch and she'd make me lunch, and she was really like kind of like this perfect housewife kind of person. And that really, at first, I think my wife at the time appreciated, because it was like even less stuff she had to do.
Yeah.
But in the end, it was probably the end of our relationship, of the three of us.
How did you communicate that with your wife, that you felt like she wasn't like pulling enough weight?
I never did.
No?
No, I never did.
Not even in the end?
Not even in the end.
Okay, so how did the downfall, what started that? How did that go?
She cheated on us with her best friend that she had been hanging out. So all the times that she had been like going out to like party, she ended up like coming back to us and being like, I've been sleeping with this other guy, and now this guy was also didn't work, and I had let him move in and not pay rent because he was having a hard time.
You are too nice. Too nice.
And so we ended, and when we ended, I wanted to keep things going with the other girl, but we had started together, the three of us, and it didn't survive.
So that kind of brings up a good point about cheating, though. Where are the boundaries with cheating? So if you first, like, you guys have your triad, do you guys see other people outside of your home? And how does that work? How do you bring to your partners, I would like to start seeing this other person, I want to date someone else? How does that go?
So I thought it might be nice if we go around the table and ask each person what they think cheating is.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to start?
Like
Kat?
what they consider cheating, not what they think cheating is, but what do
Okay.
they consider cheating? Because if Kat says like there's no such thing as cheating, that could be her honest opinion. That's fine.
Well, and there's
For
physical
me,
and then
it's
emotional.
the physical.
Okay. So where's the line? If you find somebody else that you're attracted to that you want to spend more time with,
Like
what are your steps?
I'm okay with kissing, but further than that,
Okay. And
Wait,
then if you
what?
kiss someone else, do you bring it to your partners? Are you open about that with them?
open about random kissing.
Yeah. Or are you like, it's not really a big deal, just keep it to myself?
For me, it's not really a big deal.
Okay.
But I don't like kiss everybody.
Yeah. If you get emotionally attached to someone else,
I
Is
get
that cheating?
emotionally attached to a lot of people.
okay.
So it's just like
I feel that.
it's like, oh, you could be my new friend.
yeah.
Oh, well, they're not talking to me anymore.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Snappy?
For me personally, it's like anything that's not discussed with everybody. Like I want to know everything. So I feel like if I'm not told, then I am like being intentionally like left out,
Okay.
and that's not a feeling anybody ever really likes.
Right.
And so anything that's like not discussed openly with everybody kind of pokes the bubble of cheating for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want everybody to talk about everything all the time. Like I just want to know.
Yeah. So on the topic of feeling left out, are you somebody like me? I have FOMO. So if I know that my friends are hanging out together and I wasn't invited, I start to feel like a little jealous, like I was excluded. Do you feel that way if they have one-on-one time?
No, because one-on-one time is really important, and I want everybody to have that. I want to be able to have that with Rich. I want Rich to have that with Kat. I want to have that with Kat. But there are like, little, I call them my inner feeling little like bubbles, of like when they go out and they do something super fun, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you guys did that. I kind of want to do that, but that's
Yeah.
okay. I'm so glad you guys had so much fun. Like I get it, but that's just like a human feeling of like, oh well, I wish I got to experience it too.
Yeah.
But if that's to me something completely different than say not this relationship, but in a previous relationship that I was in, it was somebody was like just came home and they're like, oh, I slept with somebody else, and I'm like, we didn't discuss that. Like, why was this never ever brought up? And it turned into a huge argument that actually ended my relationship. So
Was that a monogamous relationship?
no.
Okay. What is cheating for you, Richard?
Cheating to me is lying.
Okay.
That's really it. So it doesn't matter who they sleep with, but I think there's a couple things. Like, one, we have to be honest with each other, and if you feel like you need to hide someone for whatever reason, then whether it's sex or not.
Mhm.
It doesn't, I mean, I don't think it's about sex. It's really about trust. Like you want to be able to trust your partners, and especially in a throuple, though statistically also monogamous relationships, but all relationships, you have to worry about your partners bringing in like STDs and
Mhm.
things. And um, so that's where like I want to know that I can live safely and that I don't have to worry about a risk I didn't choose to take. If I
Right.
choose to jump out of a plane, I know the risk. If I
Mhm.
choose to sleep with another girl, I know there's like a higher risk of that person having something that my partners didn't have. But that's why we require testing. That's why we require like upfront, like, hey, because if we know and things happen, even with STD testing and testing all this stuff, right? Heck, donating blood. There's outbreaks and things,
Mhm.
right? Of like Hep C and stuff that happen. So things happen, and not always because of infidelity or anything like that.
Mhm.
But you just have to know what people are doing so that you know what to look out for, because it just sucks to be surprised by something that doesn't have to be a surprise.
Yeah, sometimes parachutes fail, but at least you put it on. You
Yeah.
at least tried.
Yeah.
Tell me how you guys came to be the three of you.
So Kat and I met Kat on a dating app.
Such a weird dating app too. It's called Coffee Meets Bagel.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was so like weird. I was like, how do I get? Wait, it's by points? What? I need more coffee, or is it bagels? I don't remember. But I was just like randomly going through, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's cute. He's cute. He's cute. And then like I get rich, and I'm like, oh, he's a nerd. I was like, and he has blue eyes. I'm a sucker for eyes, man. But I was just like, I think this could work. And so we started chatting it up.
Okay.
Well,
And
it
then
helped because you knew a friend, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
forgot.
we-
So we had a mutual friend because he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a part of CCC," and I was like, "Wait, I I know someone in CCC because Vegas is really small.
Mhm.
It's the tourists that make it big." So I was like, "Hey, Lexi, do you know Rich?" "Yeah, I know him. He's a really sweet guy. I think I'm gonna go on a date with him." And she's like, "Do it."
Nice. What is CCC?
That's Critical Care Comics. That's a charity where we dress up as superheroes and visit hospitals. We're also I think the country's largest scholarship fund for cancer survivors.
We are the largest.
Yeah, we raise $300,000 to $500,000 a year for helping kids and families and healthcare providers and stuff like that. So
I feel very honored
Yeah.
to be sitting at the table with Dr. Strange. I never thought it would happen in my life. My inner geek is squealing to be with Dr. Strange. Okay, so then what? You guys went on a date,
Mhm.
and then obviously you guys were attracted to each other. How did you bring Snappy in? How did you propose that idea? You were married monogamously before.
Yes, I
Okay.
was.
So how did you get broken into that world?
So I have a friend who is in a large polycule in Georgia. And so, you know, she talks about her relationships and I was just like, "Huh, I have a lot of love. Plus me, I get bored easy." So I'm like, I need more people to love and I like to do all the things and try all the things.
Okay.
But when we were on our date, he was like, I am a poly person, and if you're not okay with that, you need to let me know now so that we're not invested in each other and care about each other and I can't love who I want to love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about it and I was like, more people to love, why not?
So at this point, you were dead set on being poly now. Now that you've experienced it, you were like, never going back.
I had actually for 8 years I was in a monogamous relationship, and it was a form of hell on multiple levels. And I could probably do an episode about being
trapped.
gaslit for so many years, and just yeah, because there's probably, I don't know, yeah, we could definitely do an episode about it, because it was definitely hell in many ways. But one of the ways was, in the very beginning, she made the mandate, I'm not okay with being poly.
Mhm.
I'm from Wisconsin. I have much more religious background, and I was like, okay, so this relationship needs to end. And she was like, oh, and hey, I need to have brain surgery. And I was like, oh man, I can't break up with her right before brain surgery. And then after brain surgery, she was like, so I could die statistically within the next 12 to 16 months. I just need to go through physical therapy. I need to do all these things. And I'm like, oh man, I can't break up with her
Right.
now. And here we're like, pretty soon we're like 2 years in. She's like, okay, I quit being a teacher. I went to go work as a professor at UNLV. So this is her. And so then I won't have health insurance. And that was before Obamacare. And her health insurance was going to be $1,300 a month because she had a pre-existing condition of brain surgery.
Oh, no.
So then I was like, oh man, okay, I guess I got to marry this girl so that so that she has health insurance, because she could die if she needs another surgery. And then next thing you know, 8 years later, and then yeah. So
If I had known that that's what it took to get a ring, it would have saved me a lot of trouble.
Way too nice.
now
Way too nice.
now people at home are like, that's all? Just brain surgery, or
Right?
just major medical condition?
So this relationship was post throuple.
It was, yeah.
Okay, so then you went back to monogamy with this woman. Who needed
Somewhat
brain
against my will,
surgery.
yeah.
Okay. In this hostage situation. Okay, and then
That's a good
after
way to
that-
describe it. It was a hostage situation.
Yes.
I have a way with words.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what? Then
So-
that obviously ended.
Yeah. So when it ended, I decided that I realized I have to put myself first to some level of degree for me to be happy, so that then I can provide. Because that's my ultimate goal, is to provide for my friends, family, loved ones. And I realized that if I don't take care of myself enough, I won't have enough of me to give out to other people.
Mhm.
And so when Kat and I had gone on 2 or 3 dates, and it was like, well, I guess this isn't just going to become like a one night stand kind of thing. Now it's becoming a thing. So if we want it to become a thing, I have to let you know, like, hey, I have to be poly,
Mhm.
because I will not feel guilt anymore for falling in love with other people.
Mhm.
That's my mandate.
And you were open from the get go. You were
Yeah.
totally cool with it.
Mhm.
Okay, and then so you guys start dating. How long before you bring Snappy in?
So we did 2 years.
Monogamously.
No,
No.
no. We had a few.
We had
We
a
went
few
on-
girlfriends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we dated a few girls, and then one of our close friends, Lauren, she had lost her place to live, and then in order to afford an apartment here in Vegas, she had to get a roommate. She got Snappy to move here from Utah, and
Yeah, she reached out to me because she had been in Salt Lake about a couple of months prior, and was like, hey, I am getting an apartment in Vegas. Do you want to move here? And I remember when she was there, like, we were joking back and forth with our group of friends of, I'm like, man, I got to get out of Utah. Like, I got to figure out something else, because at the time I was working for the government, and that just kind of drains you. And I'm like, I've never actually done anything crazy. And when she was like, hey, you want to move to Vegas? And I'm like, I'll be there in like a couple of weeks. And so I packed up and I moved, like, on a whim, under a month. And my mom had just had surgery, and my mom and my sister came and helped me, like, move all this stuff to Vegas.
You can't leave your mom when she has surgery. You have to stick around for 2 years and marry her so she has health insurance. Did we learn nothing, Snappy?
So, yeah, I moved to Vegas during one of the worst snowstorms, and it was a complete whiteout. It took 3 times longer to get here than it should have.
Mm.
And I got to Vegas, and I actually have an aunt and uncle who live out here that helped me move and everything.
was that right before COVID shut down?
it was in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It was right in the middle. Nothing was open. Nothing. And it was just so crazy. And I remember like the day after I moved here, I had to drop my mom and my sister off at the airport at 5 a.m. and we had just finished moving all of my stuff into the house at like 2:30. So I'm running on no sleep. And I remember just driving back and thinking to myself, oh shit, what did I get myself into? And it was a very weird moment that I had to stop at the 99-cent store. And this is the story I tell everybody about my first day in Vegas. I go to the 99-cent store because I realized I don't have any cleaning supplies. And the apartment that we had was a little dingy, and I just wanted to like clean it up before I started setting my own stuff up. And the 99-cent store actually here on Eastern, because I have to drive past it all the time, I pull up and I'm like, Vegas isn't as weird as everybody thinks it is. And I go in, I buy my cleaning supplies, and this gentleman before me, he had to have been like 100 years old. Just as
The first man ever.
And he's buying like $30 worth of Dove unscented bar soap. And I am never going to forget this. I go out to my car and I'm trying to GPS how to get back to my own place. And I'm parked right in front of the store, right up against the sidewalk. And this gentleman comes up and he's standing in front of my car and we like make eye contact. And he just reaches into the bag, pulls out a bar of soap, opens it, and takes a chomp out of it, like eats a bite of it. And here I am. He ate it in under 3 bites. And
That's an experienced soap eater.
Oh. And he has an entire bag full of soap. And I'm like, I must have sat there for about 10 minutes. And I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go home. And it was just dead eye contact. And that was my first experience of living in Vegas. And it has been weirder ever since.
And here, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, thinking like, I think some people make their own laundry detergent with like borax and stuff. And then you said he ate it.
And he just like went to town like it was a cheesy gordita crunch or something. Like it was the most surreal moment of like, I get back. I remember just kind of like sitting in my room and I went, what the hell? And like my mom just got off the plane because it's only an hour flight from Vegas to Salt Lake. And I called my mom and I went, I don't know if I want to live here anymore.
How is Fremont Street for you?
Oh, Fremont's weird, but
we can see Fremont
we
Street.
can see Fremont from
from
our
where we
house.
live.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's not so much Fremont Street as like the weird other streets around Vegas. Fremont, to expect the weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I worked in a mall for a hot second.
Oh, yeah.
And getting to the mall, past the Springs, it's the Meadows Mall, past the Springs
Oh.
Preserve, they got some weird people around those parts.
Yeah.
But, it's what makes Vegas Vegas.
Fremont, you expect to be weird.
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't expect there to be weird when you're sitting at a red light
No.
No.
or at a 99-cent store.
And you're not expecting it when you're at work or
Right.
anything like that. But, it's just, Vegas is full of weird people, and I think that's what gives
Lots
it
of
its
weird
little, like, sparkle.
Quirks. Yeah, that's why the
Oh,
tourists
man.
are attracted to it.
There's
We're
a lot
like
of
a-
crazy here.
Like a
Oh,
zoo
it's
you can
insane.
come watch.
But I had lived there. I moved March of 2021, and I had met Kat previously
yeah,
because
we went to like the vintage market.
no, that's when I moved here. No, we had met
Oh,
before at the mall when
yeah.
me and one of my friends came to
Planet
Vegas
Hollywood.
to visit my family for Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And Lauren was like, "Hey, I have a friend. Do you mind if she tags along?" And so I remember like seeing you at the mall, and
Mhm.
she was just weird and bubbly, and like I'm like, oh man, she's my kind of crazy.
It was
And-
fun because I was like, oh, look, there's bee stuff, and there's bee stuff, and there's
Because
pumpkins.
I have a tattoo of a bee on my finger, and she like zoned in on it and was like, "You like bees?"
It's like a drug dealer.
And I was,
Bees.
and I was like, yeah. Every shop we went into, I found these bees. I found these bees. Do you like these bees? And our friend Bunny was like, oh, she also likes pumpkins. And that just like
That's funny.
she took off looking for things. I think I spent a good $400 on this excursion to the mall.
That's so funny. That's like the Extreme Home Makeover show when they're like, yeah, my daughter likes unicorns. And then they
Everything.
run with it and the entire
Everything.
house is a
Oh,
freaking
man.
So-
unicorn.
And then it was so funny because she kept talking about, she's like, oh, my boyfriend Richard. And I'm like, oh, like, shit, she's in a relationship. And so I was like, man. And so I just kept like thinking about it. And then I actually ended up moving here. And I remember I got handed, I don't know if you even remember this set of candles and lotion that Lauren comes over and she goes, I got you a housewarming gift. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And then it says from Cat on it. And I'm like, who is that? And she goes, oh, that girl we went to. And I'm like, that girl we went to the mall. Oh, okay. And then, like, they came over to my house and we all talked a lot. And
Actually, you came over to our house first.
Yeah, you did.
I did. Oh,
Yeah,
shit,
Sundays.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sundays.
So I used to do a big Sunday night dinner thing where I would just make a bunch of food for anybody who came over.
Board games, too.
And play board games, yeah.
And it's so funny because I remember that I came in and there was a bunch of people there that are now my friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know anybody here. And I never feel shame and I never feel like embarrassed. So I'm like, I guess I'm going to try to like talk to people and, hey, let me tell you about this time I was in Arkansas, and like started talking to people. And then it turned into, hey, it's Disney night at the bar that we go to, Millennium Fandom. Do you want to go? And I was like, I don't have any costumes. All of my stuff is still packed. And I'm like, I can pull a costume out of thin air. Let me figure this out. And we ended up going and talking, doing literally nothing else but talking for hours.
She didn't know that this was our first date, but I had plans.
I was just like, oh, this is so nice.
You lure him in with Disney, so
Yeah.
we're on to you now.
You were dressed as
I was
Prince Eric?
Vanessa.
Yeah,
and you were
Vanessa.
Prince Eric, and I was dressed as Merida. And I just threw an outfit together out of my Ren Fair clothes. and we went, and I'm like, oh man, we're just talking so much and having a good time. And then it was like a week later that I get a message. Do you want to go on a date? And I'm like, oh shit, like now? And I'm like, oh, this is a poly thing. Oh, yeah, I can figure that out. And we've been dating 2 years next month.
So at this point, you guys were still dating Lauren? So this
No,
was
we
now
never
a-
dated.
No,
we
we
never
never
dated
dated
Lauren.
Lauren.
Okay. So Lauren was
Lauren's
just
our
your
super
friend.
close friend. We hang out with her all the time. But
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just you two.
Mhm.
Lauren got you the connection to Snappy. Snappy
Mhm.
moved to town. And then was your first date with just Richard? Was it together?
Our first date was at the bar. And
Yeah.
then, honestly, from that point, I don't
It's like a
remember.
blur
It was-
because we spent so much time together after that.
It was like
So much.
3 days a week whenever I had time off.
Yeah.
And it was like bing, bing, bing. And then it was literally 2 months later that it was, I'm like, are we dating? And then I get a, yeah. And I'm like, I need to put that in the calendar. That like, is dating.
Was your guys' schedule more flexible back then?
No.
Where you were seeing each other more? No?
Yeah, yes. Okay, yes,
Okay.
it was. Because I had a regular day job.
And Kat
And
had a day
you
job.
worked during
I
days.
worked during the day.
So
yeah.
So you have
we all had
evenings.
nights and evenings together.
Okay.
Now, not so much.
No.
Back then, the harder thing was, hey, we hang out together all the time, but we need one-on-one time.
Yeah.
So that
trying
means
to-
somebody's like left at home by themselves,
So then
bored.
it turned into a schedule of on this day it's Rich and Kat. On this day it's me and Rich. On this day it's me and Kat. And then on this day it's all of us together. And that worked for about a month. And then we were all like, okay, we need to figure something else out because it's crazy.
Okay, so I don't want to get into like bedroom details and things like that, but if you're comfortable, I want to talk about how you identify. So you guys are also in a relationship.
Mhm.
Do you consider yourself bi then? Kat and I talked about the difference between like bi versus pan and the kind of gray area there. How do you identify?
I don't know. For me, I like all the things, but I guess because of my age, I'm like, I'm bi. But I wouldn't be opposed to like, cause maybe I don't know what people's definitions of things are.
So
I'm like, is bisexual just like boy and girl, and then
that's usually what it's categorized as.
yeah, because
No,
I would be
but
okay
bisexual-
with
so
I would be okay with
bisexual,
somebody
as
trans.
I've been told, is that finding appreciation in two genders only. So if you only like trans women and cis women, or
I
if
would
you
be
like
fine with all the things.
Yes, so that's pansexuality, whereas like you can stick your hand down somebody's pants and not care about what they have.
There's always something to play with down there.
That's what I've been told, because I was a very active member in something called the Court of the Royal Golden Spike, which is a drag and gay group alliance in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And so I like went to classes and stuff, and that's how it's categorized.
Okay.
Is bisexual is bi, so two, and it doesn't have to be opposite genders. It doesn't have to be whatever.
Just
It's
two of
you
something.
just like two only, and you don't move out of that bracket. Whereas pansexual is like, I don't care.
How accepted is that group in Utah? That's like mostly the LDS community, right?
So, I actually won. I was Miss Golden Spike Princess of the Royal Golden Court. I did a lot of outreach programs. I worked for drag shows, and one of my parents has a mermaid pod out there in Salt Lake that
Ooh, what's that?
a professional mermaid pod that we dress as mermaids and perform and stuff.
Okay.
And we do a lot of gay events, trans events, outreach programs, and festivals and stuff. It's a lot bigger than it used to be, but the thing that you run into, like you do with most conservative states, is that there are going to be people who hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually they have their own little corralled area off to the side where they're holding their signs and stuff. But Utah is definitely turning more accepting than it first was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all due to people saying we're out and we're proud and you're not going to scare us away. Is there people that are also within that community and don't want, those drag events or gay events? Absolutely. It's a really weird phenomenon, but it's there. And so, it's a lot better now than it used to be.
How do you identify?
Me personally, I'm pan.
Okay.
So
man, woman, trans, doesn't matter to you.
I don't care. Think of my sexuality like a swing in a hurricane. It just goes everywhere.
Okay. What about you, Richard?
I'm straight-ish.
Okay.
And I always say like, because I would be with trans women and not have a problem, even pre-op or whatever. I don't care about their genitalia.
Mm-hmm.
But I do need breasts. Like, so
That's the line.
Okay.
that's like the
All right,
line.
Breasts.
And it's like we know these drag performers, and I'm like, I kind of have a crush on that person's boob plate. Like,
Okay.
not on them, just on their boob plate. So like, they're so good.
So born biologically male, transitioning to female post-op, as long as they have a breast form. You're
Yeah.
cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you guys ever deal with jealousy in any form?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that would be my biggest
I-
insecurity is I'm not a sharer and I'm very territorial.
My problem right now is I hate the swing shift because I miss dinner
Mm.
and then movies I don't get to go to. And I'm like, I hate work. I'm never home.
Cas major
I
FOMO.
miss- It's major. I hate it. And there's nothing I can do about it but be sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that, and it, makes me cry. I feel the things.
Yeah.
But it's not rational because in life you do miss out on things. I just want to be there.
Yeah. It doesn't make the pain any less. Your
No.
feelings are still valid, whether you feel like it's rational or not.
Yeah.
Any sort of insecurities with you, Snappy?
The same thing. I want to plan things that I want to be like, oh yeah, we can totally go do this. But right now, and has been for the last couple of months, people are like, let's make plans. And I'm like, I literally can't. I don't
Mhm.
know my schedule even more than an hour before I have to be there. And I don't work the swing shift. I work the everything shift. And
No, but your latest is 9 p.m., but you're usually home.
7
by
a.m. to 8
7.
p.m. That's at least a
but
time
also,
range.
Like, if say the service ends at 8 p.m., I still have to clean up and get all the
Yeah.
paperwork done and stuff. So at the earliest, I'd be home at like 9, and then my job, I have to run around and lift things and do things all the time, and then I'm exhausted, and I'm like, I can't make plans because I just want to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get up at 5:30 the next morning to go do it all again, it's difficult. And I'm like, I want to plan things, I want to do things, but I I can't. And it's really frustrating. I have my moments where I get very irritated with it, but
Will you tell listeners what it is that you do for work?
I'm a mortician.
Okay, so that might give a little bit of like
It's
information about why your
yeah,
schedule's so crazy.
we're super short staffed here in Vegas right now, so there's a lot of us that are doing double time working from one funeral home to the next. And it's weird. It's a weird phenomenon. Every spring and every fall, a lot of people pass away, and nobody really knows why.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. And so we have a lot of scheduled stuff. We have a lot of stuff that happens unexpectedly. And so we're running from one end of the valley to the next, trying to give help where we can. And it's really difficult. And so it's definitely a struggle. And I have my moments where I come home and I just want to sleep and can't. Have to walk the dog, have to go grocery shopping, have to go do this, have to go do that. And you just you try to truck along as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Did any of your families have any hesitation with your arrangement? Have anything to say about?
My mom is heavily Catholic.
Oh, okay.
So Filipino, Catholic, a lot of Catholic guilt. And she was like, "What? Is everything okay? What is going on? Are you happy?" Like,
This was because Snappy kept showing up.
We
didn't- we-
at events and her mom would just glare at me for the longest.
oh my God. Yes, it was hilarious.
Like I'm cheating on Kat with.
So it's so funny because we went to dinner, right? And my mom's like, "Oh yeah, go sit right here." And I was like, "No, I sit here because I'm left-handed. I don't want to freaking." And so it was like Rich over here, Snappy over here, and me over here, and she just like
She glared
kept
at me.
staring. And then my dad and I, he knows because Dad and I, we have a weird relationship. He's like, "We're adults now, right? We can have these conversations." Yes, Dad, we can. No, that's too much. But fine, we're adults. We're adults. Sure. Maybe there's trauma there, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, there's the guilt, and like she's just like, "Is everybody happy? What's going on?
The
Who is
first
this
6 months of
person?"
our relationship was really weird with your mom.
So she just felt like you were like the other woman
Oh,
and
yeah.
didn't understand
But
that
I
you
don't-
guys were also together.
But I don't know that she knew who she was the other woman for.
She didn't. She
Okay.
was probably
'Cause
confused.
I would show up with just Rich, or I'd show up with just Kat, or I'd be there with the both of them, and her mom would be like, I'm like, why? And I remember telling Kat, I'm like, your mom does not like me. And she's like, that's not what the issue is. She just doesn't know why you're here.
But so she was more confused. She wasn't like, blink twice if you need help.
She wouldn't even be able to communicate that. She'd just be like, "Who do I need to kill?"
Yeah. But now, your mom and I
She's
are
gotten
pretty-
used to it now.
Yeah.
She's like, "Does Snappy want anything? I have food for her." And I'm like,
Aw.
Her mom will text me and she's like, I go shopping later. You want to come? And I'm like, I can't. I'm at work. She goes, next time.
Okay, so I love this. Already I like your mom. So this is like the classic, not how I was raised, have never been introduced to this environment, but I'm learning and growing as an individual. So these people that can't wrap their brains around women with women because it's not how they were raised, or not using certain vocabulary because it's not what their generation does, it's all bullshit. Because you're very capable of growing as an individual and
Absolutely.
accepting
Absolutely.
people as society changes.
my first relationship with a girl, and it was monogamous. I was like, "Mom, I'm dating this girl now," and she goes, "Girl?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're dating. I'm gonna go live with her, whatever." And she's just like, "No, honey, you need to be with a boy." And I was like, "No, maybe, but not right now. It's not in the cards today." She just looked at me, didn't know what to say, and I was like, "Bye, I love you." And so, like, maybe that shock of like, wait, what just happened? No, that didn't work out the way I thought it would.
But you were married to a man at one point also.
Yeah,
Did
we
you
were.
have attracted, like, were you attracted to women
Oh
at that
yeah,
point too?
yeah.
And he knew about it and
I was attracted to women since like high school.
okay.
Um, we lived in Germany, so sex is very fluid there. So they don't care. They would rather show sex on TV than violence. And being in a military family and being around military, we'd always go out drinking, and then once the alcohol starts flowing, inhibitions start flowing, and then it's just like, hey, let's make out. Sure, yes, absolutely, okay. And then like there'll be people like, oh, I want to see a three-way kiss. This is gonna be weird. What? Why? I'll buy you drinks. Ah, F it. Do you want free drinks? We're gonna make out in a weird way. Okay, yeah, this is happening. I mean, thank God they didn't have cell phones with video, because that would have been a weird looking video. But
But in the moment when
In the
you've gotten
moment.
how many drinks in your system, you're like, this is so hot.
yes, this
You
is
think
great.
you're like
This is great.
in
Yeah.
your zone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like back in high school, I would tell my friends, "Yeah, you look amazing, blah blah blah." And then, a couple years later, I'm like, "You look amazing." And she's like, "Now I believe you." Why? Because I was a lesbian at a point in time? Yeah. That doesn't make me appreciate you worse or less or more. You're still appreciated. And she's just like, whatever. Like, you don't get it, but that's fine.
What about your family? So you said that your dad was poly, but it wasn't labeled that for the
Yeah.
time. So your parents were obviously pretty open then.
So yeah, I mean, my mom hated that about my dad. They separated early on, and my dad didn't. He never even commented on it. He never asked, like, because he was around. He's passed away now, but he was around with my first wife and our girlfriend at the time. Never commented about it at all. It was just normal to him, so he just never questioned it. And when my mom, like, I don't know that I've ever actually directly told my mom. It just because
happened.
my mom and I don't have like a great relationship about a lot of things. So a lot of times I'm just like, you know what? I'm just not gonna directly say anything. I'm not gonna avoid it. I'm just gonna talk about it without ever saying it. And then at some point she just like figured things out
Just kind of
and
made her own
Yeah.
assumptions.
and she doesn't seem to have a problem with it. She likes both girls, so
Do you think she feels differently about Polly now because it's her baby boy that made that choice versus with your dad?
no, she just really at some point she realized I wasn't gonna make life choices the way she would make life choices.
Mhm.
And at that point, I actually like I muted her for like a year, and
Put her on punishment.
yeah,
You go in the corner.
at some point I told her, I was like, if you say something hateful or mean, then I'm just not going to talk to you for a few months, and that's fine with me. So
You set the boundary.
yeah, I set a boundary, and that's what I tell everybody. If you have a tough relationship with your parent, like, put yourself in a position where you don't need to rely on them, and then draw the line.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean they have to believe whatever you want them to believe. They don't. And they don't have to give you catharsis. That's not their job.
Mhm.
But just like all your friends, just like all your family, you can tell people, hey, this is a line I don't want you to cross. Like, don't give your opinion on this aspect of my life.
Mhm.
This is my life, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so she knows that there's just a lot of areas like that will basically get her muted. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So best behavior.
yeah,
Watch what you
Yeah.
say. Okay. Are you guys comfortable talking about, since we're on the topic of family, you guys having a family, being parents? Are you
so
comfortable?
before we
talking
get to
about
that, I did want to just comment on the jealousy thing, which I think is so striking that I think most people expected the answer of jealousy from a monogamous mindset, assuming that the audience is monogamous. They assume the question of jealousy is about sexual partners. Like people like, oh, do you feel jealousy about people sleeping with other people? As opposed to what the answers all were, which is I feel jealous of them having fun without
Yeah,
me.
being left out of
Yeah,
fun
Yeah.
one-on-one
that's
time.
just the main thing.
That is interesting. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
catch that. Okay, do you ever feel that way if you're left out of funsies?
I actually, because I work so much, I kind of put myself in a position to often get left out. Like a lot of times I just bring my laptop and I'm working in the side of the bar, or today it'll be in the shade near the pool.
You are always working.
Yeah, I'm always working.
Always.
Always.
Um,
And if he's not working, he's thinking about working.
That's true.
Because he sleep dreams and he's like,
that's true.
I figured out the code. And it's like
And then he gets
3
up and he
a.m.
goes and does it.
And
Yeah.
we're like, what is happening? No, come back. It's cold.
It's infinitely worse because he sleeps in between the two of
Yes,
us.
he
Okay.
And
does.
so when he gets out of bed, the whole bed like moves.
Nice.
It's hilarious.
And
Some-
you have to make sure you don't step on the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a huge bed?
Yes.
It's a king size bed. It's just
King
a king
size.
size
Just a
bed.
king?
Just a
king.
Okay.
I'm their
We have
body
a
pillow.
queen,
It's true.
and I feel like I would love a king. I don't know that we could fit a third person in a king with the way that Bobby and I sleep, though.
I mean, I sleep like a rotisserie chicken.
She
I
does.
sleep all night
She
long.
does. That's why I can't sleep next to her. She's so freaking warm. She's like a space heater.
I
and
have
she
flare-ups
moves.
while I
Nice.
sleep, and I move a lot. And so we tried many different sleeping patterns of like
So
cat in
many.
the middle. That didn't work. I in the middle. That didn't work either. So we just settled on Rich because Rich sleeps
Well,
like a
'cause
soldier.
He sleeps through everything. Everything.
He's in the trenches.
So like when we go to sleep, I have my leg, my arm, and the whole side of my body on top of him, and the cat has like a leg and her arm. And he doesn't have his own blanket, but he takes all of the pillows and both blankets because I have one and Cat has one.
Right. So we're like sandwiching him. And then he's like, pillows. And so then we both grab a pillow and thwack him with it. He's like, I need him in between my fingers and toes. And we're just like, stop being weird. Sleep now.
You guys need like 3 twins.
We
That
have-
way when he gets up, it
No,
wouldn't
because
move.
then the bed will come apart and there's
Oh,
cracks.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
Yeah.
they
So
sleep
slip
on
over.
me.
we sleep
Yeah.
on top of him.
No,
And-
I sleep on top of him until I'm too hot and I'm like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Because
I sleep on
I'm
top of
weird.
him until some time in the morning where I wake up and I'm on the other side of the bed and I'm like, I need to scoot back over here because I'm too far away.
Yeah,
Do
so yeah, a bigger bed we would just be in the middle still.
Yeah.
We'd
What a wasted
still
real
we'd
estate.
still roll around. When it was just me and him, he would have just like this little sliver of bed and I could roll all over. And I'm like, okay, we're touching. No, it's too hot. No, I want to cuddle. No, it's too hot. And now I'm just like, I'll just roll over. I don't have to touch you. But before I was like a toddler everywhere in the stupid bed and he just had the little corner and I'm like, are you okay? Don't fall. There's a ledge there.
We also somehow all migrate to one side of the bed or the other. So I'll wake up and I'm like, my butt is hanging off the edge of the bed, or I'll wake up and there's like 2 feet of space between me and the edge of the bed, and we all just kind of like migrate with each other to either side.
True.
Do any of you guys have the desire to be parents?
I do.
Have you thought about the sleeping arrangements if there's a baby in the room also?
The baby would not be in the room.
Yeah, it would not be there.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Okay.
No. There will be self-soothing and you will sleep in your room alone.
Okay. So do you have any desire to be a parent?
I raised my brother and sister from a very young age. I do not like children.
Okay.
I cannot have children. I do not want children at all.
Okay. What about you?
I genetically would like to procreate, but I don't have a lot of interest in being a close father person. I didn't have a I mean, when I was a child, I was an adult from like 6 years on.
Okay.
So like at 6 years old, my mom would have me proofread her letters before she mailed them out and stuff, and I'd be like, "Oh, you're wrong in this grammar here, or
I
this or
can
that."
weirdly see that about you.
Yes.
Like you're almost like that
He was
show
his
with
own
the
parent.
Sheldon,
Yes.
where he's just like far intellectually above all of his peers. I get that vibe from you.
Yeah. So, because I mean, at one point, my mom was like, "I just wish you could take pills to be normal," and that was like I could do like a whole trauma episode about being autistic. like advanced autistic, surrounded by people that don't really understand you, and how you feel isolated and alone. I could definitely do a whole episode about that. But uh, because I was treated as an adult from a very young age, I never got that experience I saw in TV shows of like, this is what a family life is supposed to be. And consequentially, I don't really feel a strong desire. So I would want to give the best possible life for that child possible. And so it'd be like, how many activities you're interested in this activity? Okay, I'll pay the money for that
Right.
activity. But ultimately, my agreement with Kat is that if she does get pregnant and have a child, like, we probably want to rely on her parents, who are both retired and live like 25 minutes away from us, maybe 30 minutes. And we really want to leverage that, because I actually have a much closer memory, like, ties to my grandparents, who often, I still like did my own thing, but I did my thing at my grandparents' house instead of at my parents' house, because my parents worked. It's Vegas, so people tend to work in the casinos at weird hours, and bartenders and waiters and stuff like that. So for me, I don't have any intention or desire to be like just
play baseball and catch. Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm
don't
just
do
I'm not
sports
going to
ball
be
anyway.
yeah. I have to continue to work to survive financially with the commitments I've made. So I'm never going to be able to be just fully available. And with our close, like, calendar commitments, it would be like, okay, well, this is when we've got to do this class with the kid. That takes up a time slot. Now, right now, I have like a day with my friend Light, and I have a day with Lauren. I have a day with my friend Tara. I have a day with Snappy. I have a day with Kat. Like, I put all those things on the calendar, and I fully recognize, like, okay, well, now I'm going to give like 2 days for the kid. Okay, guys. So the calendar is 2 time slots on here with the kid. But it would still be very calendar driven. And of course, when emergencies happen with any of us, and there's 3 of us, so the chances of somebody getting a flat tire, the chances of somebody getting sick, the chances of somebody having a death in the family, all those are just multiplied by at least 33%, because there's an extra one of us, right? So we have more life events than a monogamous couple. But not necessarily. Like, some monogamous couples, they have a close brother or sister or somebody who's like nearby and in their life. And so we're really not that different than them. It's just that, we probably have more commitment. We have to be there for each other.
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to your, like, wanting to be a provider. So you want to be able to give them the best life possible, whatever they want, desire, anything like that. You want to support them that way. You're just not a dad who wants to, like, sit around a Christmas tree and open up presents with them and that kind of stuff. Not like the like nurturing part. You would rather form a whatever life they want to be able to provide that for them.
Yeah. Which is what I wanted as a kid as well. So I guess I want to, give the childhood that I wanted.
Okay. And you're totally cool with that, having a partner that feels that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that you'll be taking on more of the, like, hands-on parent role, the default parent?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know that I will be like 80% everything.
Yeah, kissing the boo-boos and all the stuff.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about that?
Like I said, I had to raise my brother and sister at a young age. My brother's 5 years younger than me, and my sister's 10 years younger than me. And their dad took off, and my mom always had to work, and we were very poor. And so, kids is difficult for me. I also had cancer when I was 15, and that I lost my ability to have children. But with that, I'm kind of traumatized by kids, and like the hell that I had to go through to provide for both of them alone. And I don't ever wish that on anybody. I feel like, so I never had a childhood. I had to raise kids. I was in school. I worked. And it was very difficult. And I still, even to this day, do think about it a lot because I finally left home at 17 after I got outed by a friend. And for about 2 years, I couldn't see my brother and sister because my family is Southern Baptist from Georgia.
Okay, so by outed, you mean?
My friend pushed me out of the closet in front of everybody.
Okay.
And so it was really difficult. And it's like, it's very traumatizing, like the thought of having kids. And so I'm trying to live like my life now of being who I am and like getting to do the things that I want to do instead of having to be the mom or the big sister or the provider or the caretaker or like both parents to two little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would be more open to it in like 10 years. But right now, I can't even fathom it because I'm trying to get into college again. I am trying to make connections to get into a better spot in my workplace. I'm trying to rise through the ranks and do the things that I want to do because I wasn't supposed to be here this long.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a little kid, I never wanted kids like that. I was never the kid that wanted to play with baby dolls but when you're kind of thrust into that light, it's hard. It's hard being 8 years old, taking care of a 5-year-old and a baby.
If you don't mind me asking, at what age did you have cancer?
I was 15.
Okay, so what was it like for you when that choice of whether you could have kids or not, when that choice was taken from you? Because you didn't want kids anyways, but also having that choice taken involuntarily
it
sucks.
gives you a weird kind of complex.
Yeah.
But when it was, you have to do this or you will die.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of make that decision. And when you're in that kind of like mindset of where everything is overwhelming and you're doing what you need to survive,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have time to think about it.
Right.
And like I had already been witnessing my best friend in the whole world go through her cancer treatments and remissions and treatments again for years.
You both had cancer?
We did. My best friend in the whole world, her name was Bailey, had leukemia and lymphoma from the age of 7 to 17.
Oh, God.
And she went through remission 4 times. And I think she's the only reason I made it out of this alive. But she, the last year of her life, she said, you know, I want to make a bucket list and I want to do all this stuff. Because her treatment had come back and they were like, it's so aggressive that we have no other options for you. And it kind of really put everything into perspective that I don't want to live a life unlived.
Mm-hmm.
And so that last year, it was doing everything on her list that we could. And I am trying to apply that philosophy to everything. So if it's, do you want to go dancing? Yes. Do you want to, I'm thinking of doing this weird thing. Absolutely, sign me up. Because I never want to be in that spot again.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to live that way, to live in what I call her memory, I don't have time for a child.
Mm-hmm.
When everything slows down and I am thinking probably in like 8 to 10 years, I think I would be more financially able. I think I would be able to be in the right mind space, probably talk everything out of like raising children at a very young age. But I do not see myself being able to be the person to be able to help or to even care. I feel like it would bring a lot of really hard feelings of anger and resentment and stuff like that. And it really is, children are kind of a touchy subject for me, but it's a reality you have to face when you date people. It's a conversation that has to come up.
Mm-hmm.
But right now and for the foreseeable future, I cannot physically, emotionally, or mentally deal or be compatible with a child.
Okay.
Especially in my line of work where I see children's deaths all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That is also a huge fear of, like, you're sending your kid out into this world that is not kind.
Mm-hmm. And seems to only be getting worse.
Definitely
point.
only getting worse.
Yeah.
But when you witness that all the time, that makes you even less inclined to want to try to foster another person into this planet.
Yeah. How do you feel about Kat having a child? What's the conversation that happens between the three of you when you don't really have a desire to? You want to keep a more hands-off approach. You want to be more hands-on. How is that going to work for you guys?
We were talking about like making a contract and saying what they're willing to do, and then beyond that, it's mostly up to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
because they have their hard lines that they won't give up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not asking them to do more than what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. My big thing there, because we've had a lot of tough conversations about this, because Snappy has to trust that she's not gonna be in a position where Kat's like, oh hey, they called me into work or something,
Yeah.
and I don't have whatever, and it's like, well, there's actually never a scenario like that. There's only a scenario like that if we didn't previously screen and prepare babysitters and things like
Right.
that, right? So that's why we have to do the prep work ahead of time so that we have plans. And that's like literally like my job for a lot of my like day jobs and customers and things, is to plan out eventualities and say, hey, we can only get certified if we have a plan for all of these things. That's the only way you can get certified. That's the only way the company can operate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very experienced in that kind of thinking like, hey, I need to have a plan so that if this thing happens, I'm not panicking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where we have to be. And we have to have that plan so solid that Snappy feels like, okay, I now trust that this is not a thing where 6 months from now, suddenly I'm going to be the one stuck with the baby all weekend.
Right.
And I think it's a very legitimate fear. And I didn't want to like speak for Snappy for that fear. I just want to say, like, we've had these conversations, and it's not Snappy's responsibility to come up with the plan that makes her feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's really Kat and my's plan, like, responsibility, right? Because if I want to pass my genes on, Kat wants to become a mom, that's a pretty compatible like desire set. And Snappy wants to continue to like live her life and explore the world the way she wants. And this is something that we could have like another whole topic about, is the fact that Snappy is younger than us.
Yeah.
Right? So Snappy is turning 25 this year, and I'm considerably older than that.
He's older than me by 20 years.
Yeah. And I asked Kat to think more responsibly
Mm-hmm.
if she wanted to date me. She has to kind of like level up her responses to things, and not respond to things the way that somebody who hasn't learned how to communicate and things. And some people are in their 60s and have never learned how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really an age thing, but I asked her to level up her communication skills and her maturity skills, her emotional maturity. And that's the same thing for Snappy is like, I'm like, I know it's tough, but the only reason we date, yeah, our puppy over there is snoring away. But the only reason we even dated Snappy was because she already was ahead of her peers at an emotional maturity level. But we're still asking her to mature faster than she would maybe on her own.
Mm-hmm. Is everything he said fair to say? You agree?
Oh no, it's absolutely correct. This, like I said earlier, this topic really stresses me out because I don't want children in any way, shape, or form, and that's one of the things that we do not all agree on.
Are you comfortable continuing the relationship as long as the preparation, the boundaries and things have been set? Or is it still just kind of make you nervous anyways?
I literally don't even know what to say.
Okay.
It's I want to say yes, but I also don't know.
Okay. Also, on a side note, you had mentioned that you said we were comfortable dating Snappy. When you guys brought her into your relationship, did you guys have a conversation about whether to bring someone else? Or like, how are you feeling about Snappy? You cool?
So we had conversation. One, right? There's a difference between going on dates with girls and being in a relationship, and then obviously there's a huge difference because with Snappy, she actually ended up moving in and things that was another level above. So we had gone on some dates with some different girls, and that's one thing. And then we had been in like soft relationships with a couple girls, and so that was like the next level. And then like Snappy is like, okay, she's fully on board. She's in it with us with all the ups and all the downs. There's no anything we experience, we're experiencing together at this point. There's no delta between us. At the time, Kat would have preferred if we had started dating a couple months later because we were living. I had sold my home, and I was living in a hotel for a few months until we got we were on a wait list for an apartment because you got to think 2020?
It was 2021.
2021. Vegas was crazy.
The house market was
It really was.
We looked at house after house after house, and a lot of times the house would already have a buyer or a renter before we left.
Good as the house that we left.
Yeah, it was really a rough.
So bad.
Yeah. So we were so stressed out. I had lived in a hotel for 3 months at that point, which was expensive and small.
It's
Like,
a studio apartment.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
I kind of liked
I was
it.
losing my mind.
And
no,
they
you were working while I was laying in bed, and I was like, I don't want to get up yet.
and they were actually coming over to my house to sometimes cook for themselves and use my washer and dryer.
Yeah. So it was a little stressful, and starting a relationship at that point was not like the most ideal, perfect time. But the thing is I was like, Snappy could end up in a relationship with somebody else, and I just thought she was really great, and I thought she was going to be a good fit for us, and I didn't want to like miss out on her, to be honest.
What you mentioned a soft relationship. What is that?
A soft relationship, I feel like, is a relationship where you're arguably together.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say you're in a relationship, you say that she's our girlfriend, whatever. But when she has a rough day, a rough thing, car, flat tire, whatever, she might not let us know. And we might just not go on a date that week. And vice versa. If we're stressed out, we might say, hey, we don't really feel like going out this week, so we're not going to go on a date this week.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a soft relationship because you're in theory not dating anybody else, but you're also not sharing with each other.
But that's still not like your person.
Yeah, it's not your person.
Okay. So if you guys go on dates with other people and say you're feeling
Just
it,
her.
she's not, or you're feeling it, she's not,
Just
whoever.
nice to know.
It's just her.
If one of you is not feeling it, but the other one is, how do you deal with that? Does it have to be a unanimous yeah, we're cool with this person? Is it like the greater good of the group?
Okay, if we were going to expand beyond a throuple to a polycule, that's where the rest of us need a vote,
Mhm.
right? So Kat's like, hey, this guy's really cool, or this girl's really cool, and I want them to start hanging out with us like all the time.
Mhm.
We have to have a conversation about that, because maybe we don't want or have the space for another person
Mhm.
to
Or
be so
maybe they're
closely,
not
tightly meshed.
compatible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we have a lot of really different personalities.
Yeah.
Rich is very introverted, mostly quiet unless you really get to know him.
And he's a goblin.
He's menace to society.
Like the worst thing you can think of, he will say out of his mouth.
That's
It's like, that was random.
or
and-
act it out. Like that
Oh,
happens
what
a
is-
lot.
Wait, not the worst thing, just the
Well, no,
most
like
bizarre
the
thing.
Yes,
Weirdest
most,
thing.
Yes,
The weirdest
most
thing in the-
absurd thing you can
Yes.
think of.
Yes.
Think Monty Python. Like I'm a,
Yes. He's the murder
He's a
bunny.
living, walking, breathing meme.
That's funny.
He
And
is.
a problem child.
People don't believe us.
Until I have to pull up the proof.
Oh yeah, when he's dramatic on the floor, dying of hunger, when he knew we were
Literally.
going on a dinner date.
No, it was a lunch date, and he was in a meeting. And there's a pic. It actually just showed up in my memories
Oh, yeah.
again.
That
That
was
he
funny.
took a picture of himself from like 6 feet in the air, where he's laying on the floor like a dead person,
Timed it with
and
his
he's
watch.
like, here I am starving to death.
So freaking dramatic.
could have
And
brought me food.
I have to find that picture
No.
because people be like, Richard's so nice and Richard's so quiet. He's not weird. And I'm like, I will show you. Let me educate you.
You should post that on the Nora's Table socials.
go.
I bet that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, you
I
can
need
share
to
it
see
with
this
He's so
picture.
freaking dramatic.
Or like I put my friends and these two compete for something that I do called Quote of the Day. And it's the weirdest, most off the wall quote gets posted on Facebook with no context. 9 times out of 10, it's something that Richard has said.
I'm not doing it to compete.
No.
He just
No.
he
It's
just
just his
does
day to
it.
day.
He
We
just does it.
we have friends that are like, you guys don't have cameras rolling on you guys all the time, and I said
No.
no, because he won't do it if anybody's watching.
Any desire for marriage?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
How is that
Yeah.
going to work?
So that's what's super tough, because I mean, I don't know that it'll be a government marriage, and I'm not a huge fan of government marriages, but obviously government marriage doesn't allow more than one
Multiple
partner
people.
yet.
Okay.
I mean, things are getting,
Well, have you looked at the news lately? It's probably not going to be for a long time.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not thinking like law-wise
No.
marriage, more of like
Um,
a spiritual commitment to each other.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that if all of the religious people are as religious as they say, that they would value their commitment to their deity more than they value their commitment to the government of the United States. But
You would think.
you would
The
think,
almighty dollar.
Mm.
but the almighty
Pay
dollar
your-
requires
pay your
that contract.
tithing, sir.
Yeah. So from a spiritual commitment, my challenge is that we are online social media people,
Yeah.
and I would want to give them a good proposal,
Mhm.
but there's a timing thing. Like, people deserve, like, each person deserves to be a bride and deserves to have a wedding.
Mhm.
And so there's timing, and I have not even figured that out. I don't know how to.
We've discussed it, but we haven't really gotten that far.
Okay.
Oh, we watched the Asians, and he's like, I want to go down the aisle like
Crazy
he's like-
Rich Asians.
He was like, I want to do that, and I was like, do what? The water going down the aisle and the flowers, and then I'm like, no, I will fall, and he's like,
Not for you.
I'm like, get out of here. You are
I want to
so
feel like
extra.
like a pretty bride. Like,
Richard.
Okay. Put you in a dress. I mean, close. You
Shut
got
up.
kilt. We'll put
Yeah.
you in a lacy kilt.
Oh, I'll make you one.
That'd be fun.
I don't want lace. I want like embroidery. Isn't that like more masculine? I want like
No.
fan-
We're gonna
Richard,
put
that
you in
is
lace.
Okay, I don't
like,
care. I
That
just
is
want-
the difference between a square and a rectangle. It's the same thing. Just fancier.
One protects my
Oh my
sensitive
gosh.
like
You're
ego.
not even.
Shut up. Shut
No.
your
Keep
mouth.
going.
Do you see what I mean?
This right here.
24/7.
You guys need a reality show.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That'd be nuts.
But then he wouldn't do it.
No, I probably
No?
would. It just depends on time.
It depends on what it is and the timing. He's like,
He doesn't
They
care
say
about the
this.
timing because I'll be half asleep on the couch and he's like, "You're looking mad studious, bro."
oh my god.
Because my sister's 15 and has taught him a bunch of lingo.
No
Nice.
cap.
No cap.
Facts.
It's horrible.
I love those.
Those
It's
are
so
awful.
horrible.
He was like, that place looks like it's popping.
And he's like bussing for real. And I'm like,
He's like, how do they dance in the club? Like,
No.
no, the gun. And I was like, can you please put the gun away?
It's so horrible.
Stop it.
He and my sister get along entirely too well. And then he and my uncle Austin get along entirely too well. And none of them are allowed to hang out with each other. Because then I have to go home with him. And he just says some of the worst things for months.
And he said them wrong on purpose.
Oh, it's so bad.
So if you guys want to have like a traditional wedding, I mean, not in the sense of like not having marriage licenses and things, but having a wedding, like traditional couples, I guess I should say. Are there any other traditional, what am I trying to say
Are
here?
you, like, talking
Traditional
about, like,
things you
Yeah,
want?
yeah,
father
yeah.
giving away the
Yeah.
bride and stuff?
Would you change your last name? Are there any
I
other
would
like
change my last
features?
name.
I would change my last name.
Yeah. Okay.
I would change my last name. Along with the things of like father giving away, I have thought about that. My biological dad died when I was 18.
You have
and
had a rough life, Snappy.
it could be a whole thing. I have one biological mom, and then I have a set of parents that kind of adopted me.
Okay.
And I've been thinking back and forth. I'm like, if I ever do end up getting married, I'm like, my brother and my dad could walk me down. Because they found me in a really rough time in my life. And my brother, literally how my week goes is it takes me 30 minutes to drive home. My mom either calls me, my sister either calls me, or my brother calls me every day when I get off work and I drive home.
That's
And
nice.
so I'm really close to them, especially now that I don't live in the same state.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough for a hot second there, but it's definitely gotten better now. And so traditional things, I am not Southern Baptist or LDS like my family is. Like I spent a lot of my time on the reservation with my grandparents. So I have a lot of those things that I would want to incorporate. Like giving beads and hand tying and stuff, because that's just important to my culture.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else, literally, both of y'all, I hope you know I've had this plan for like years, and this is just where it's going. I have a very non-traditional idea for a wedding.
What about you? You said you wanted to change your last name also. Are there any other?
I mean, because I still have my ex-husband's last name. I just didn't want to pay for it. I've been this way. We were together for like 8 years, and then, you know, I've been having this last name forever. Didn't want to change it. Cost money.
Mm-hmm. It's a pain in the ass to change your name too.
It is. But
I mean,
I
at
would
least you
just
have
do
a
it
name
one
that you can
last time.
pronounce.
yeah, well, you know. I thought about going back to my my original name, but I was like, it's too much work. I have to stand in line. The government sucks.
I mean, it can't be that bad. My mom's done it 4 times.
Yeah, well, she just really likes to get married. She likes the ceremony,
She loves love.
I guess. The only thing I want is for my dad to give me away. Because when I got married in Georgia, it was like, spur of the moment, let's do this. I need health care. And they didn't even know.
Mm.
I did it. I was just like, no, I'm not having this
Hey, Mom, I'm
conversation.
married.
And then my mom's like, you didn't even tell me you got married. I'm so mad at you. And I'm like, oh crap. And then Dad's like, very disappointed. I'm like, no.
That's even worse.
Like, I am a daddy's girl. So it's just like disappointing him broke my heart. Because he's like, I didn't even get to walk you down the aisle. And I'm like, I'm sorry. If I could do it again, I take it back. But yeah.
It's kind of weird to be in my standpoint of like, this is the longest relationship I've ever been in. My girlfriend has an ex-husband. My boyfriend has an ex-wife, and everybody's
No.
like,
Two.
2 ex-wives.
It's true.
And they're like, well, what about you? What about your ex? And I'm like, from college? Like, the 3 months that we dated? I have no.
The crazy girl?
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay.
No.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah. But, like, people automatically assume when either of them talk, oh, my ex-spouse. And they're like, well, do you have any exes? I have never been in a relationship this long.
So this is your first like real serious one too.
Yes. Like serious, yes, this is the first time I've like moved in with a spouse, not a spouse, but a partner. God, I'm losing my words here. Like this is the longest relationship I've been in, mostly because dating in Utah, not a thing. Ever.
They get married. Like,
They're like,
well,
oh,
I had a friend that her mom met her fiance 3 weeks before they got married, and nope, they're not. It's not a cultural thing. It's not anything. They're both LDS. They met and they got married.
So it's pretty arranged.
Not
No.
arranged.
they do mixers to
Yeah, they
make sure
do.
that people don't stay single
They
very long.
literally have something in the LDS community called the singles ward that if you are not married, you go there to go to church so that you can meet people to get married.
Because you're
Aw.
spiritually obligated to have children,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The more
as many
kids
children as you
have,
can.
the closer you
That's
are.
interesting. I
So
hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, so it was people that, like, obviously, because I'm living in Utah, there's nobody else
Mm-hmm.
that they won't date you if you're not part of their religion. They won't date you if you won't go to church with them. They won't date you if you don't. I have tattoos and piercings, and I colored my hair for a really long time.
You heathen.
I know. And I also am not Christian in any shape, way, or form. And so they're like, oh no, you're a pagan and you don't do that. Well, I can change you. I don't want that. Thank you. Like, go find somebody else. So it always just kind of makes me laugh a little on the inside when people go, so what about you? And I'm like, not me. That also goes with like age too.
Oh, yeah, the age game is fun.
Oh, yeah. Because, like I said, Rich is 20 years older than me and Kat's 15 years older than me. And so most people think we're all the same age.
Mm.
And
So wrong.
Because emotionally immaturity, you are pretty close, right? Because you're
God, I
not
sure hope so.
yeah, I
Having
mean,
like mid-20.
I mean, all of.
The adults
Identity
are
meltdowns.
adults, and we're
Yeah.
the chaos, and he's the coordinator.
It's true.
But I'm
That's
the
for sure.
adultier adult with people my age. I mean, so
Mhm.
that's
But like also I have one friend that is my age. Mostly because anybody else my age, like they're crazy. I can't stand to be around them. Like I went to college twice. I have 2 degrees. I'm going to college again for another degree. I have life experience of like raising children and like building a home and like going through so many different things that people who are my age don't have yet.
Mhm.
And it makes them hard to like
Relate with.
be
Yeah.
around. And so like my best friend Jordan's 13 years older than me. Derek's 10 years old. Like all of my friends are at least 8 or more years older than me.
Mhm.
And so when people are like, oh yeah, like we could just rent a car, and I'm like, you have to rent the car. I can't do that until June because it's not allowed.
Yeah, so you're just like in a different like path of life, I guess, than your typical peers.
Yeah.
Because you've gone through more experiences and things like that.
And
You've been tested.
I'm grateful for it because it led me here.
Mhm.
But it's also kind of weird when people are like, you remember that show from the 80s? And I'm like, no.
I was busy raising kids.
I was.
She
I wasn't
wasn't-
even there.
No, she was an egg.
Oh, that's right.
My mom and my boyfriend are the same age.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Like-
my mom hates it. But the funny thing is when people are like, you remember this in the 80s? No.
like 5 days, 6 days apart.
Yeah, 6 days apart.
My
It's so
mom's
funny.
husband is only 14 years older than me. Age is just a number, baby.
Age is just a number, but like when people that are their age try to relate and they're like, oh yeah, I was doing this in like 1992, and I'm like, add like 6 years to that, and then I arrived.
Yeah, like, I wasn't even a thought
Like
yet.
the other day, we were at the bar and somebody's like, oh, I was doing this in 2015, and then I said what I thought was quietly, but that's not a thing. I said, that's the year before I graduated high school, and like the whole bar went quiet, and they just looked at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, and then I like ran away into the darkness.
Another podcast just canceled on her last week.
They did.
Because they thought she
She
was
was wanting to
30.
talk to me about my job, asking me a whole bunch of questions, and she goes, what advice do you wish you had before you were 30? And I was like, I'm about to turn 25. And she's like, oh my God, you can't come on my show now because it's for people about to turn 30 or already 30.
Oh no.
And I'm like,
What a
I'm
bummer.
sorry.
Yeah.
How do you guys deal with, we talked a bit about communication. If you guys have an issue between two of you, how do you guys deal with that? Like if you guys are beefing, whoever, how do you talk to the third person and hope to get like a non-biased standpoint? Do you guys just kind of work it out?
Why are you laughing over there, Kat?
I'm laughing because sadly you have become our default because you're better at communicating than we are.
So you're like a mediator sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that like for you?
It's tough.
It's something that I'm completely comfortable, but I just worry about their own like development and whether or not I'm like somehow like stunting their like emotional growth for not working through some of those challenges on their own. So I try to like step in, I try to give them tools, and then I try to step back out. But then sometimes I just make a mistake and I inject myself too much, or sometimes I don't know. I don't mind being in that role, but sometimes I do just worry. I'm like, I'm not a therapist. I just have been keenly interested in a lot of these things for a long time. And as a corporate executive, CTO, I went to a lot of training to work better with employees and things like that. And it's just given me a large tool set that I can hopefully share with people around me. But I just constantly worry that like I don't want to be their moral compass. I just want to push for everybody to be honest. So I'm just like, do whatever you want to do, feel whatever you want to feel, but be honest about it and be honest with yourself. Sometimes that's the biggest challenge, is to be honest with yourself. Like, how did you come to this upsetness? And I just, my constant stress is that I am somehow hurting them by doing the hard work for them and robbing them of that opportunity to learn.
But let me give you an insight on the other side of that. Sometimes, because Kat and I are like same person, different font.
We are.
I need to talk to a rational person because I know I'll say the wrong thing. And I'm like, I have a point that I need to get across, but I can't figure out how to get it across. And I need help saying it in a way that it doesn't come out meaning what I don't mean.
Right.
And also in a way that is, for lack of a better term, awful. And like, we've, like all partners do, we've had our arguments, we've had our like conversations about tough stuff and stuff, but it's gotten a lot better because Rich has the knowledge and has given it to us in ways to apply it. So now, instead of a lot more arguments, instead of a lot more issues, it's okay, here's what I'm upset about. This is like what's going down, and here's a cohesive way to talk about it. So it's definitely really helpful. I don't think it's a hindrance, but I understand where you're coming from when you say that. It's because I don't like to talk about problems with somebody that doesn't know like who I am or who they are,
Right.
or what's going down. So because you're here and you have the tools and you have the insight and the knowledge, it's helpful.
And I really appreciate that. I just know that I have very strong opinions on my own morals and how I behave and act towards people. And there's a saying in Buddhism that there's different classes of people in the Buddhist philosophy, and there's a whole sets of rules on how like a priest should behave, and they have specific rules that normal people should never be expected to behave as a priest or hold themselves to that ideal because they're a normal person and they don't need to. It's not helping them in their personal journey to behave at that higher level. And I want to live my life by a strict moral code, and I'm not trying to push my morals onto you guys. And so I just constantly worry sometimes. I'm like, okay, I feel like I might have crossed the line in that particular conversation, that not only did I push for honesty and open communication, which is good for everybody on the planet, but then also I injected some of my personal bias of what is right and what is wrong. And that's what I'm constantly trying to like pull back a little bit from, because I'm always happy to share what I believe is right or wrong, but I'm not asking you guys to follow my moral code other than honesty.
Would you consider yourself an emotional person? Are you more like emotional led or more analytical?
I would actually say that I feel intense emotions constantly,
Okay.
but that I try to separate my behavior or code of conduct from those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I feel agony inside, like I feel high levels of emotional distress because I'm doing something that is completely counter to what my emotions like want, whether that's selfishness, whether that's greed, whether that's whatever. I'm like, man, why am I doing this? I really hate that I'm doing this, but logically, this is what I should be doing. So, or I committed to it or whatever. And I'm like, well, other people would just not do it. They wouldn't put themselves in this situation. Oh, but analytically, I decided that this is what I will do, so I will do it. And and I think a lot of people think that thus I must be cold or I must be unfeeling. And at the same time, like I'm constantly feeling like these roiling emotions. I just don't let them control me.
How do you guys feel? Do you feel like you're more emotionally driven or more logically, analytically?
I feel like more emotional, but I do like to think logically. For me, if I have a problem, I need to let out my emotion first, and then I can get to the logical step. So I need to like hash it out. And then I'm like, okay, now that the crazy's done, I can go and do the normal things. Like before, I was awful with communicating because when I get upset, I learned this from my mom, that I would shut down and walk away. And so now we've gotten to the point where it's like, you're allowed to ask me one question at this time. And then you can't give me 15 because I'm not answering any of them.
So you're more of like a freeze and flight kind of trauma response.
Right. I can answer through text because then I can take my time.
Yeah.
But on the spot, no. Because then emotions will hit first. I need the time. And then when I'm angry, I don't want to speak because I don't want to hurt the people that I love.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. And I have a really hard time with communication also in conflict, because in the moment, even if I've thought about this argument all day, right? A, B, and C are the reasons why I'm pissed off. The second I'm asked, what's your issue? I can't think of any of those reasons. All I'm thinking is, I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't feel good.
You're like
I feel
a
like crap.
deer in headlights, and you're just like, wait.
And then it looks like I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm just like, and it's like, no, I've been thinking about this all day. What the heck happened? As soon as I get my emotions out, then I'm like, okay, now here's a PowerPoint.
Yeah, he made me write it down one time, and I had like 2 pages. And did I really talk about the 2 pages? No, but it felt great.
Yeah.
For it to be out.
Yeah.
Like the volcano
cleansing.
Was full, and we just needed to empty it in a healthier way instead of an eruption.
Have you ever had an episode about like the volcano concept?
Mm-mm.
No, that's a good tool.
Yeah.
That's just a good tool. I love that. I share it with a lot of people that I see them having problems in their in their relationship and things, and I think it's such a good tool.
Okay.
It's a good visualization too,
Yeah.
because you can
Yeah, it
like,
makes sense to people.
imagine the
Yeah.
volcano, and then this little thing is irritating.
Mhm.
This little thing is irritating, and all the things pile up, and then explosion. But you're not really mad at the top part; it's all the other stuff,
Yeah.
and
We
it's
come
just
home and explode
accumulated.
over one thing, but it's not that one thing that we're mad at. It
Mhm.
started this morning when we were late getting up because we hit our snooze button, and then we couldn't find our favorite hair tie, and then we were
Yep.
late getting out the door, and then Starbucks had a full line, and
Mm-hmm.
it's never the thing.
It just
time.
snowballs.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you feel? Do you think you're more emotional or more logical?
It depends on the situation. When I don't have to work, I am a very emotional person. On the hindsight of that, I am also very confrontational.
Okay.
I have listen. Us Southern gingers have a flare streak. We
You're Cajun spicy.
oh yeah, this is very spicy. And that's definitely something I picked up on my mom because I am the exact same person as her. Just I am her carbon copy. And I try to kind of ebb that and like think through it of like, okay, don't just get mad, like you need to talk about it because I would have issues that I would get so irritated, but I couldn't really express what I was irritated about. And it was only like a couple months ago that my friend is a psychologist and goes, you're autistic. And I went, that makes a lot of sense. And so realizing that now and being able to like figure all of this out with like me on the inside, I have begun to be able to change the way of thinking and be able to like express things better.
Now that you know that there's a real
reason
behind it,
right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I still am confrontational, and but I'm better about it. I'd like to think. I don't know how true that is.
It's a lot less intense now, which is very good for
I'm a
me.
very intense person, and if I'm not in charge of things, I am emotional. If I have to be on or if I have to be in charge and make all the decisions, those emotions get stuffed into a box and put on a shelf until the problem is fixed, where I can actually think logically and get everything done. But the moment that is all taken care of and I can step away from that situation, I'm like, okay, I need like 10 minutes where I can be upset and then I can go back to what I was doing. And it's a lot of people ask like, how do you do that? I have no idea. But
in the moment,
it's gotten a lot better.
I'm pretty emotionally led, and when I start crying about something, I feel like my husband doesn't really know how to handle it. He really wants to be there for me and comfort me, but it's like that meme you see, like the person upset in the corner, and they're just kind of touching you with a broom, like they're there.
Throw candy at her.
Yeah, you being intense emotions, but also wanting to kind of keep your distance when they are having big feelings. How do you comfort them as the male partner?
Honestly, I just stay near them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say very little because I don't like to give empty platitudes. And, I just try to think like, okay, well, they're probably going to need water. So I go get water. They're going to need ibuprofen. I get the ibuprofen.
Can I get you a pillow? Do you want a blanket?
Yeah. I just try to meet their needs until they're ready to talk or whatever. So that's like the whole thing. Like the number of showers I take per day is so crazy. It's so a lot. Like,
because I have to shower a lot, but then I'm like, it was a hard day at work, and he's like, go get in the shower.
That's kind of like the episode we did with Casey when she's feeling like a sensory overload. A shower with the lights off is kind of her reset. So a shower is kind of like a sacred place, I think.
Yeah. These two have light eyes, so they like to shower in the
In the dark.
It's
and I
not
have
dark.
brown eyes, and I'm like, I can't see Jack. Like, what is happening?
I don't like lights on when I feel overwhelmed, and so I just
Yeah.
want everything to be dark.
Mhm.
And then Kat's like, "Can we turn some lights on? I can't see
I can't.
anything."
I can't. Like, I have to see my food, or I will
So
throw
she
a fit.
like I'll eat in the dark, and she'll turn on the lights, and I'm like, "Oh."
I'm like, listen, I'm about to eat. This light's getting turned on, and she's like, fine. I'm like, yeah, I love you, but no, I need to eat.
So Snappy comes home and she's like, "Oh, like work was overwhelming and I smell like my work. I don't want to smell like my work." Okay, shower. And then that's like a half-hour shower. And then she gets out, she ends up going to sleep, and Kat gets home and she's like, "Oh, can you wash my back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And so,
That's my intimacy, though.
yeah,
It's like
no, and I like it.
and I'm
I
like,
just,
scrub my back.
like, I'm in the
I
shower like
can't
an hour a
reach
day
it.
or something
Do
like
you guys
that.
have like one of those bottomless water heaters?
High rises have unlimited
Yeah.
hot water.
Luckies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless
But,
the people above us turn on the hot water.
but even before we got a water heater that was like continual.
Mm-hmm.
It was so hot though, but it was great.
It's our, like, even if we can't go on a date or everybody's tired or everybody's like just not in a place to really go do anything, we turn
We-
off the lights and we take a shower.
We have a 3-person shower, so.
It's
That's awesome.
It's huge.
amazing.
So you have more than one water spout then?
No.
No.
but
Well, yes, technically.
well,
We don't turn
technically,
both
we
of them
don't-
on most of the
no.
time.
But we also have a bench where we can sit too.
Okay.
Because I get tired really easily, and so if we're in there for a while and we're all talking, I'm like, I need to sit down, and so I have to sit down.
Yeah, it's like our intimacy time. So it's like time to talk, time to like wash each other,
Mhm.
you know, maybe each other's hair or, you know, the grooming part.
Primate stuff.
Yeah.
I just had a daydream of someone washing my hair. It was great. I don't know that I could ever get Molly to
There's
wash my
been
hair.
times that like because I have a chronic illness that I can't like raise my arms above my head, and I'm like, Kat, I need you to help me wash my hair, please.
That's like the best part of going to the salon is having
Oh,
your
I
hair washed.
love
So
that. I'm
nice.
like, please shampoo my hair. Yes. Can I just come for shampoos?
Seriously. Okay, well, let's wrap this up
Yeah.
with your 3 things that you do for your mental health. Anybody want to start?
Wow.
I'm just going to take a second to think. Especially you. Your job is so stressful. I want to know what you do to stay grounded or as grounded as possible.
I journal a lot
Okay.
about really hard cases that I have to take care of.
Mhm.
So I have a journal that it's hidden because I have a fear of people reading it.
Mhm.
I really do, even though like neither of them go through anybody else's stuff, and it's like just it's not a rule, but
Private.
it's just like a thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't go through your stuff, don't go through my stuff, but I still like worry because I had a really bad roommate once that went through all my stuff, and so I hide my journal, but I write in it about things that are really difficult. In my profession, we have to legally talk to a psychologist once a week and like really kind of hash things out and like make sure that we're ready for the next upcoming week.
That's really smart.
So there's been times that like I come home and I'm really upset about something and Rich goes, "Have you talked to him?" "No, I haven't talked to him." "Well, you need to." So I write a lot. I talk to somebody that like understands,
Mhm.
because there's one thing that you can talk about your job, but they don't understand
Mhm.
like what it's like. I snuggle my dog a lot. There's just something about being able to like hold her that helps me like decompress.
Yeah, kind of like a weighted blanket.
Oh, I have a weighted blanket and then she lays on top of me.
Okay.
For me, one, I meditate. So I practice Zen Buddhism, and meditation is important to me. I don't make a big deal about it. I don't necessarily have like a special pillow or make sounds or anything like that. But I meditate a lot, and I read a lot.
He does.
All the time.
I go through about a book a week,
Nice.
on average, about a book a week.
How do
Just
you have the time?
He listens to him.
Audiobooks
Well,
okay.
and
actually,
he
that's
also reads
well, by
on the
that
Kindle.
by that definition, it's 2.
Yeah,
Because
he
it's-
reads one book and then he
Drives.
like listens to another, and so if he's
Okay.
not working, he's reading.
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge thing for me. And these are mostly not self-help books or anything like this. This is like popcorn books. This is like such complete
It's turn off your brain goodness.
complete garbage. But it's so satisfying, enjoyable, and and then honestly, like I walk Angel. I put in my earbuds and I walk Angel really far downtown, and I enjoy seeing her being happy because she's a dog and she gets to walk. And I'm listening to my audiobook, and I'm just kind of like wandering around with no real time limit most of the time, like just enjoying living. Yeah.
That's nice.
For me, it is reading. I do miss like having a new book in every freaking room and like one in my purse. I'm starting to get back into reading. It's been great. I want to read now, but still, that and I've been getting back into origami because my friend is getting married and she wanted a Harry Potter bouquet, so that's a project in the works, and that's been fun. I still have a little
You should explain what that is.
with the origami.
Harry Potter.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's a paper bouquet made out of Harry Potter books that's turned into flowers, and it's super cool.
It is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was thinking you were trying to fold paper to look like Hermione. I was like, that I want to see.
Listen, I do have a Harry Potter origami book that they got me, and it was like a chess set. So I haven't tried it because I find it weird, and I like to stick to original since I grew up in Japan. So I get weird when it's like, oh, you need to cut it. No. Oh, you need to tape. I don't want to. What about glue? And I'm like, whatever.
There'll
But
be days that she just like sits on the couch and folds and folds and folds and
it's
folds.
very meditative.
It's nice because you focus on something else aside from.
Well, because I can just do it without even thinking about it. And then I'm like, just looking at it, folding away. And then I'm like, wow, I got a lot of stuff done. I'm like, I have to glue it. I don't want to do that part. And the other thing is music. I love to listen to music, like blast it in my car, karaoke it out. And people look at me weird, but I don't care because it's my time. Like, you don't have to hear it.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, we will catch you guys next time. Special shout out to Ignis Umbra Studio, who sponsors us. Go check out our socials. It's at Nora's Table Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Go check out our Patreon also. And we will catch you guys next time.